So we can begin. For those who might not know, what exactly is cultural diplomacy and how does it relate to public diplomacy?
Yeah, it's a good question. And cultural diplomacy is also evolving, but definitely public diplomacy is one of those fields within foreign relations that keeps evolving and changing. What it means now and these days, and we'll get into it, is definitely not what it meant in the 1970s or even, a decade ago. It was a whole different issue. And in Israel, it's interesting. In Israel, we used to call it hasbara, information, as if the role was to explain what was being done. And slowly with the years, we're actually shifting it. And it's called public diplomacy because we realized the focus needs to be, we have the governments talking and we have the ministers or the different departments talking. But we had to get the public talking. And the public, of course, it's the vast public, but different groups within the public talking to each other and having a dialogue from the different countries. In the days of Corona, it's very easy to give examples, and I'll give you a couple. For example, the world of first responders, emergency medicine, firefighters, policemen and women who are at the forefront these days of working and trying to mitigate the coronavirus. Now, we have the exact same groups with some changes, but we have the same groups in Israel. So throughout the years, and especially in the year and a half since I've been here, we try to make contact on different topics between these groups because we saw how relevant they are, one, for the lives of the publics wherever they serve, and second, how in these groups as well, things keep changing. There's technology, there's new developments, there's new ways of approaching issues. So we brought these two groups together on different topics. And now during the world of coronavirus, we see the fruits of these dialogues because now a few things are happening. One, there are phone calls and professional interactions between these groups. Israel, who's a few weeks before the US in dealing with the corona, we saw it spreading throughout the world, right? In interims of about 2 weeks, was able to share their experiences and what they were facing. So the first responders here could get some insight a week or two before it became a bigger pandemic here. And also what we're doing with these two groups is connecting them together and having webinars and other sort of meetings that are open to the public. So the public here in the US and the people in Israel can hear what these groups are doing, one, each for their own communities, and secondly, how they're cooperating together. And the hope, and I'm giving you a very specific example, but the hope in all these interactions is that both sides, both people, both publics learn more about each other, understand more about each other, in the thought that once you know somebody, they will be less of the other. They will be closer to you. You'll start finding resemblances, similarities. You'll start finding ways of maybe talking or working together even, or cooperating, which is the best, together. And this way we can bring all levels of society and all different types of people to get to know each other and get them together. If you want me to go, I'll speak about cultural diplomacy. Is not as clear cut as it sounds. Of course, we have the classic cultural diplomacy, which we've been doing for years, is actually bringing different artists to each and every country. And Israel has been very lucky in this in a few aspects. In the fields of theater and dance, whether modern dance or classic dance, we've been very successful relatively in the US. Many of our dance troupes, and I'm sure some of you even know the name Batsheva or the Kibbutz dance troupe, have been coming here for years for performances. Some tours lasting a few months, some a few weeks, some come for 1 or 2 shows. And for me, this is a success of cultural diplomacy, even if I don't have to do anything anymore, because the fact that these groups are wanted here in the US and they're invited to come and perform, means that this is the best possible scenario for me. As we said, specific groups, different people, now in the cultural world, or even more specifically in the dance world, know each other, are communicating, are keeping a dialogue going, and are having, in the days when we can, physical connection. And that is, that's the best case scenario, I think, for any diplomat, and especially in my current field here. But some things need a little more of our hands-on help. Artists that are less known these days, and I'm not talking Corona, I'm talking digital age, books and authors and poets and poems. How do we get people to be aware of Israeli literature, of Israeli poets, of reading Israeli books, translated, of course, mostly? I'd be very happy if they read them in Hebrew. But how do we get this? And we have to keep thinking and keep finding new ways of doing this cultural diplomacy. In a society that's reading less and less, how do I still enable these people to, and expose these people to Israeli literature? So they know, again, so the literature group or the people who deal with these niche topics know to connect with each other, but also for the bigger public. The more you read of a country or hear their stories, the more you know them. And Amos Oz, who passed away, and I love him. I love his books. And, he used to say that if you want to know a country, you can travel the country, but you'll never see everything, and you'll never be able to feel it for real. You'll know a lot of things, but not be able to feel the country. But if you read a book, you'll be able to feel, the emotional connection, positive or negative, but have an emotional connection and truly understand a country. So going on this, how do we bring these books and how do we get them known in the public? And it's changing quite a lot as well. So the job here of cultural diplomacy, of public diplomacy, it's a constant challenge. What is going to be the next evolvement? What's going to be the next step? How are we going to respond to this? How are we going to work within the new framework? But even more in a way, Israel is a leader in technology and innovation. How is my team? And in the bigger picture, how is the Israeli Ministry of Foreign Affairs going to lead the way of public diplomacy? What can we do that is new, that is interesting, and will still be able to answer our goals of getting people to know each other and of getting a dialogue going within different groups?
Thank you. So essentially, it's about connecting people and publics, everything from first responders to the novel coronavirus to sharing theater, dance, and literature.